And again, these started with the best of intentions to try and bring reconciliation. And indeed, the international community was very happy with the structures that were put in place. And it has taken a very long time for the people involved in the wars of liberation in Bangladesh to be brought to a trial. Now, personally, again, any system of justice that ends up with the death penalty, to me, inherently is flawed, because I do not believe in the death penalty as any form of justice whatsoever. But the War Crimes Tribunal went from such auspicious beginnings, notwithstanding the issue that the potential death penalty, to become a very tainted process indeed. Indeed, The Economist, I think, reported that the Chief Justice, Mohammed Haq, had to resign after he had, quote, prohibited contact with the prosecution and with government officials. And so, in one second, I'm very happy to give way to the head of the All-Party Parliamentary Group. But I would secondly say that that was further tainted, that when the rules of the trial, which permitted providing for a life sentence, were then rewritten so that a death penalty could be imposed on someone who was subsequently hanged. That, Madam Deputy Speaker, undermines people's faith that when you're looking for justice, that the government of the day is on their side. I give way to the Honourable Member.
I'm afraid because he's making a hugely powerful speech. But also, on the issue of war crimes were carried out on all sides, in effect, and there have been major accusations about retaliations and retributions, and only certain people being pursued for their crimes, rather than looking at crimes as a whole and holding those to account regardless of whatever party they happen to be involved in. And that's not justice either.
Deputy Speaker, as you might expect, the chair of the All-Party Group makes a very powerful point that adds to this picture of a sequence of actions that were impacting political society and everyday society in Bangladesh, that it was the responsibility of the government of the day to handle and manage, and they failed to do so. And the elections and the current situation in Bangladesh, a clear thread can be drawn through all of these activities and actions until this current day. I'll give way to my next program.
On the point of the War Crimes Tribunals, I had representatives of the Awami League in Birmingham come to me, and I put the point to them, which is that they were responsible for the rules which enabled the death penalty to be used for an opposition politician, and that it is very clear that that fits within the pattern that has been put forward by the Honourable Member.
Well, I appreciate the intervention from my honourable friend. May I, in this move on to a fourth action where I think consideration needs to be taken by the House, and that was the issue that has been raised by other members, which is the caretaker government system. Now, it may be seen, and my honourable friend, the member from Gillingham, has already mentioned this works in other countries, it's perfectly legitimate for countries to determine how they want to handle their own elections. It is not for this House to tell another country how it should handle its elections. But it is certainly a responsibility of this House to say how effective those systems are in maintaining and promoting democracy, because we have an interest in promoting freedom and democracy around the world, and certainly in countries that are fellow members of the Commonwealth, of which we are a proud member, as well as Bangladesh. And the All-Party Group has made persistent calls on the current government to install a caretaker government system. And I have to say that that again was a decision for the government, not the opposition. The opposition leader wanted to see it. It was the government who refused to do it. An obstinate refusal to accept the caretaker government system. And you didn't need to have the wisdom of Solomon to understand where we were heading 2 years ago into this election to know that if you didn't have a caretaker government system, you would end up in the situation that Bangladesh is in now. That, again, is a responsibility and accountability of the current government in Bangladesh. I won't, if I may, I'm not to make on, because I know others wish to make contributions. And finally, of my points, Madam Deputy Speaker, let's look at the issue of political arrests and detention. Now, if it was just one or two, if it was connected to a particular crime, then a functioning democracy can operate an election in those circumstances. That can work. But where it is persistent, where it is not tied to any particular criminal act, when the leader of a political party is detained in their own home, how on earth can you have an effective election held? Now, people might say that locking up some of our political leaders here might help our election chances. Our old friends on these benches might think it might help them in the 2015 election. But seriously, how on earth can you believe that the international community is going to say that you've had a free and fair election when the leader of the leading opposition party is not permitted to leave her own home. These are a series of indictments against the current Bangladeshi government. Failure to secure and limit the extrajudicial killing of the Rapid Action Battalion. A failure to follow up on the disappearances of a wide range of people involved in politics. The tainting of what should have been a war crimes trials that could have brought the country together. The obstinate refusal to permit a caretaker government and the arrest and detention of political opponents. So may I leave with the Leader of the House just talk finally about some actions that I believe I would like to see. The first is that I know that DFID is reviewing the expenditure that it's making in Bangladesh. That is appropriate to do, but may I urge the Minister that we should not use the political turmoil in Bangladesh to harm the interests of ordinary Bengalis who need support from alleviation of poverty. Second of all, can I urge, despite what I have said, that I think it is absolutely right that the UK government continues to work with the government of Bangladesh to pursue a solution to the current turmoil. But part of that would require 5 things. The full release of political detainees, the installation of a caretaker government, the disbanding of the Rapid Action Battalion, and an external investigation into its activities. More